There are a lot of people out there saying that condo life in Florida is pretty much over. Really, it's not, but it's definitely changed. And those changes are going to affect current and future condo owners. So if you're thinking about buying a condo here in Florida, you might want to pay attention to this. There are two major issues with condos here in Florida, and really condos across the country. Florida has something like, I think it's 1.5 million condos, which is more than all the other states combined. So Florida condo owners are gonna feel this pain a little bit more than pretty much any others. The boom in condo construction started pretty much down around Miami, the Miami-Dade area, in the 60s. They were normally 2 or 3 structured buildings located on or just off the beach. People who were retired from their careers up in the Northeast drove right straight down I-95, buy a condo on the beach, and pretty much planned on living out their golden years there. Over the years, the number of buildings grew and they got taller. Now, I don't think there's a beach in Florida that isn't lined with high-rise condos on either the beach side or the intercoastal side. Things cruised along like that for decades until the summer of 2022. In the early hours of June 2022, the 12-story Champlain Towers in Surfside collapsed and killed about 100 people. There were, I think, 136 condos in that tower, including the rooftop penthouse, which, come to find out, had to get a special exemption just to be built because it exceeded Surfside City's height limit when it was built back in 1981. After a lengthy investigation, the main reason for the collapse turned out to be a long-term degradation of the concrete structural supports in the basement of the building right under the pool deck. It turns out that the association didn't keep up with the maintenance on the building. In Florida, and actually in the Southeast Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, that area, there has been a requirement of the condo association to conduct routine maintenance inspections on the building for decades now. This is Florida. I mean, the weather and the climate, they're harsh on everything. Over near the oceans and the Gulf, salt is in the air and that gets on everything. And salt, over time, destroys just about everything. It's concrete, metal, rubber, everything. Water intrusion is also an issue here, either from hurricanes driving rain into the buildings or the roofs leaking. Water gets everywhere and destroys stuff. So the associations would have the maintenance inspections done, get back the report, and find that the roof needed to be repaired sometime in the next, 5-10 years. Or the pool, it needed to be resurfaced, or concrete was falling apart and needed to be replaced sometime over the next 10 years or so. That stuff all costs money, and we're talking about millions of dollars here. In the case of the Champlain Towers, those problems were reported in 2018 and noted again to be much worse in 2021. That's when the association finally approved the $15 million remediation. Up until then, associations could waive or partially fund all those repairs with a vote from the condo owners. So let's say John in unit 459 just goes down to cast his vote. John moved in the building 15 years ago. He paid, let's say, $90,000 to buy into the condo. The HOA fee at that point in time was $300 a month, and it's been pretty much that way for a while, and he's happy as a pig in slop. The COA is now saying that in order to fund all the repairs that need to be done over the next 10 years, the fee is going to be $700 a month. So John, being a smart guy, thinks to himself, John, you're 73 years old. You're not going to be alive in 10 years. Why would you want to increase your monthly cost of your monthly COA fee to $700 a month? And John votes no. John tells his neighbor, Mildred, about the increase in fees, and Mildred agrees. Let the next owners pay for the repairs. She votes no too. Matter of fact, most of the owners do vote no. They are on a fixed income and much rather spend money, on a golf membership than maintain their building. Let the next generation pay for it. Guess what? That next generation is here. Late in the year 2022, the state passed legislation that no longer allowed the association to kick the bucket down to the next generation. I mean, really, the only rules regarding the inspections really haven't changed much in concept. Miami and the surrounding area down there in the southeast have had these inspection requirements for a long time. That area has had the most exposure and the most problems. For the most part, condo buildings that are located within 3 miles of the coast and are 3 or more stories tall are required to get an inspection done every 25 years, and it must be inspected every 10 years thereafter. It's a little more detailed than that, but that's pretty much in a nutshell. However, since Senate Bill 4D passed, buildings that meet those requirements have to have what is called a Structural Integrity Reserve Study. It's a SIRS for short. That study has to be done by a qualified engineer or architect. That inspector has to look at things like the concrete in the floors, the metal and the rebar in the concrete in the floors, and the walls. Now, how they're going to do that without tearing the place apart is yet to be determined, but I'm sure they'll figure something out. A lot of the buildings along the coastline, those that will be 30 years old now or before September 31st, will be required to get that inspection done this year, 2024. They will all have to start funding or show that they are funding by the end of 2025. The associations are no longer allowed to waive the requirements to keep a reserve fund to maintain the structural integrity of that building. What does that mean? It means higher association fees for condo owners, in some cases a lot higher fees, but possibly there could be special assessments. Let's take the Champlain Tower, for example. The bill needed for remediation on that bill was, I think it was $1.5 million. There are 136 units that were in that building, but it doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that works out to be about $110,000 for each unit. And who do you think can pay for that? Well, it doesn't matter how the owner pays for it, all at once, monthly over a period of years, but for the most part, a special assessment of $100,000 is a large amount of money for almost everybody. What happens to those units that can't pay the assessment? In Florida, a seller of real estate is required to disclose known material facts which could negatively affect the value of that property to a prospective buyer. If they don't, they get to spend a couple of years over at the local state facility, where at least they get to enjoy three free meals a day. And oh, by the way, did I mention that SIRS has to be posted on a public forum and disclosed to the condo owner so they know. So the seller is going to be required to tell the buyer about that $110,000 special assessment. Let's say you were thinking after 30 years of working in the snow of Maine, you might want to retire to the warm, sandy beaches of Florida. Jump in the car, take a trip down to Fort Lauderdale, take a look at several condos. They got some great views of the ocean, and they got sand on the beach. You fall in love with it. You make an offer. And then you find out about the $110,000 assessment that's due next March. I'm thinking that little tidbit of information might just have an adverse effect on your purchase. The seller is probably going to have to lower the price substantially to get it to sell, if they can get it to sell. That scenario is going to be played out all over the state for the next, couple of years, especially along that 1,300-mile coastline from Pensacola around to Jacksonville. I believe condo sales are going to go flat for at least a year, maybe a little longer. There are going to be a lot of people who just can't afford the increase in the association fees who are going to have to put their condo on the market for sale. Wouldn't surprise me if we have that last rat on the ship routine. A question I do often get is about condos in this situation. Is it going to affect all buildings? The answer is no. There are, hundreds of buildings on the Gulf and the Atlantic that are a lot less than 30 years old. The vast majority of them have been maintained. The issue there is that most of these condos are in the millions of dollars. The owners, while they may not like the condo fees or the increase in fees, they can at least afford them. The condo owners that are on a fixed income, or those that bought into the condo during the pandemic and paid top dollar, and maybe they shouldn't even be buying a home. Those people who are scraping by to make the basic expenses, which, as we all know, have shot up over the last 3 years or so, those people are going to be, and for the most part, bought into older homes in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, and those are the ones that are going to be affected the most. Another issue related to new requirements is condo terminations, and this has already gotten started. Buildings that have assessments or monthly fees that the majority of the condo owners just can't afford. The repairs on these buildings, according to CERS, are more than what the building is worth. That's when you get this thing called condo termination. In principle, an investor talks a majority of the condo owners in the building that's selling those condos to the investor, or the owners vote to terminate the condo association and sell their units in the building to the investor. Either way, all of the owners are going to wind up selling their condo. The investor rips the building down, usually on the beach, and instead of a 3-story building that needs a ton of repairs, the new building is going to have 20, 25 floors of really nice, modern, beautiful condos that are going to run into the millions of dollars. It sounds a little harsh, but it can be a win-win for everybody. Normally, the investor will pay the old condo owners a fair, if not above, market price. They know they're going to get it back in the condo sales. That owner gets out of the $110,000 assessment, gets a nice chunk of money, and moves on to another condo, probably out of the state because of the insurance cost that we have right now. And we'll talk about insurance in just a minute. The downside to that is if you had lived in the building for 20 or 30 years and really don't want to move, you planned on living there for the rest of your life, you're not going to have a choice. That could be heartbreaking. I said at the outset there are 2 major issues with condos. Let's talk about number 2. Florida is number 1 in the country for several things. Number 1 destination for vacations in pretty much the world. We have some of the best beaches. A lot of them are rated number 1. Florida is number 1 for people moving to from out of state. Also number 1 in the country for the most expensive insurance rates, automotive and residential. Car insurance has gotten so out of hand that a good portion of people don't have it, which is pretty much illegal. And Paul and I were rear-ended a couple of months ago over on Kennedy Boulevard. I got out of the car, ran around to the road in the back of the car to exchange information with the other driver. The passenger pops out of his car. He offers me, I think it was $200 in cash to forget the whole thing and drive away. I told him no, the cops were already on their way. He jumped back in the car and took off. But then the popo showed up and it was explained to me that even though I had a picture of their license plate, there was probably pretty much nothing that I could do. The officer said they probably didn't have insurance anyhow. Really? Our rates are affected by a lot of things, like people who won't give up their right to drive, even though they can't remember where they were going or how to get back home. My mother was a prime example of that until finally took away the keys and sold her car. Of course, we have people who, believe it's much more important to text their friends what they're doing today and pay attention to the road. And I don't even want to touch base on the number of newbie teenagers on the road right now. They're pretty dangerous. We have tourists who fly in to visit who are trying to figure out where they're going as they're driving down the road, called pre-planning on GPS. Homeowners insurance is another major issue. Florida is not the only state with insurance premiums that have gone up dramatically, but we are the ones in the news right now. Florida homeowners pay something like, I think it's $6,000 on average for insurance every year. Premiums are up close to 100% over the last 3 years. The reason rates have gone up is a lack of competition. Companies are leaving states that have too much exposure. In Florida, California, Louisiana are some that come to mind. With fewer companies writing policies, rates at the remaining insurance companies just have to go up. Insurance companies are not nonprofit. If they can't make money, they're going to leave. In Florida, they have been losing money from several different issues. We have large bodies of water on 3 sides of the state. Florida is a magnet for hurricanes. Hurricanes cause damage, a lot of damage. Most recently, Hurricane Ian went through the Fort Myers area and devastated the place. The cost of repairing, just the materials, the wood, the nails, the metal, has gotten to be very expensive. Labor, if you can find it, is expensive. Florida leads the country in fraudulent roofing claims. I read a report somewhere that Citizens Insurance, which is the state-run insurance of last resort, it's supposed to be anyhow, and that's a different video. But that report states that Citizens is handling something like 20,000 roof claims. Roof claims are a racket. Roofers canvass a neighborhood that's close to 20 years old, telling homeowners they can get a new roof put on for just the deductible of their insurance. All they have to do, file the claim for the roof damage. The roofing company will have an inspector come out and survey the roof for free. And by golly, it just so happens the inspector has found that the roof has had some wind and hail damage. Not just some damage, but enough damage that the entire roof needs to be replaced. Amazing how strong that storm was. So a claim is filed, the insurance company rejects the claim. Unknown to the homeowner, the roofing company had the homeowner assign rights to the roofing company, who can then file a lawsuit against the insurance company without the homeowner ever even knowing it. So you get the insurance company is, now is looking at paying for the roof, the roofing company, the attorney, then the expert witnesses that are, sure to be brought in by the roofing company, and their own attorney fees. Normally, it never makes it to litigation. The insurance company just settles. When the homeowner gets a non-renewal from the insurance company, 3 or 4 months later, the whining really gets started. Anyhow, condo owners have 2 types of insurance they got to pay for. One is for the contents of the condo, the personal belongings. That insurance covers everything pretty much inside the walls. The building itself and any structures on the property and the common areas are covered under a master policy. That premium is part of the association fees that are paid on a monthly basis. Depending on the size, location, age of the building, the premium could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have a personal friend. Yes, I have friends. She has a condo. She went to the monthly association meeting. The board told the people at the meeting that the master insurance policy was coming up for renewal, and they sent it out sent out to insurance companies to get bids. They got 2 proposals back. Now keep in mind, their current premium was just over $60,000 a year. The cheapest quote the board got back was $151,000, and who do you think is going to pay for that? It's not going to be the board of directors. There are 12 condos in this complex. You do the math. And it's not just the one building. Insurance premiums are jumping at every level. It's getting pretty ugly, and it's not going to get better for a while. As a matter of fact, in some places, it's getting really ugly.
Welcome back. An HOA meeting in South Miami-Dade left residents furious this week after they were told their fees would significantly increase.
A homeowners association meeting at the Mandarin Lakes neighborhood in Naranja Lakes goes off the rails.
There have been 6 new insurance companies admitted to the state to write insurance, both homeowners and automotive. There have been reports out that since these new companies have started writing insurance policies, rates have come down slightly. But overall, lower rates are just going to take time. Between now and then, you need to do your homework. If you're going to buy a condo here in Florida, get the financials, get the SIRS report if it's been done. Find out if there are any upcoming special assessments. Get a history of what the COA increases have been over the last 4 or 5 years. Quite honestly, time is your friend here for at least a while. How long you can wait, I have no idea. Nobody does. There are people out there on the internet who've been saying that the end of real estate is just around the corner. Just wait, any minute now it'll be here. A lot of them, most of them, have been barking this stuff for years. One of them is a guy in South Carolina telling people about real estate in Florida. It cracks me up. Apparently, there's nothing going on with real estate in South Carolina that's pretty much worth talking about. This whole group of fortune tellers reminds me that even a broken clock is correct 2 times a day. Will condo prices come down? Probably will. Is there going to be a 50-60% price crash in Florida? No. If you look at the last couple of years since the boom of the pandemic years, and keep in mind we've known about these changes in these laws since late 2022, not like it just popped up last week. My second disclaimer here while we're at it, we are in the middle of an election year, furiously contested election year. There's an election poll coming out about every 15 seconds on some foreign media or another. We all know the results shown in those polls depend a lot on who is doing the polling. You ask the correct questions to get the desired answer. It's that simple. Statistics are the same. Ask the computer a certain question, you get a desired answer. I'm going to tell you the question I asked, you be the judge on whether it was asked correctly or not. My question was simple. I want all condo sales in Florida, May 2022 to May 2024. The information is from the MLS and it's retail sales only. The normal buyer, you, won't be involved in wholesaling. This does not include any FSBOs, for sale by owners. I just don't believe there are enough of them to make a real difference in the overall numbers. So why are these fortune tellers talking about a huge price decrease? In my opinion, they're coming up with this because of active listings and days on the market have shot up. The number of active listings have gone from about 3,100 to just over 11,000. Florida has not had that many condos on the market since, 2015. The number of days on the market has naturally followed that from 16 to 76 days before the units are purchased, so it's taking a little longer to sell a condo. That means that the month's inventory has increased from 1 month to 6 months. We are no longer in this huge seller's market. Average list price is coming down ever so slightly. Sellers are just not able to stick some ridiculous price on the condo and expect to get it or more. The sold price is running at 93% of the original list price, so buyers are able to negotiate with the sellers. Yay! Across the state, the number of condo sales has dropped slightly over the same time period from 2,621 to 1,853. It's about a 9% decrease. Remember, we were in the final stages of the COVID deal in May and June of 22. The real drop came in July of 2022 when most COVID restrictions were removed. Sales across the state dropped to 1,752 units, so sales are actually up from that point. For now, the average price has gone up from $377,000 to just over $400,000. Is this going to continue? Well, I'm not a fortune teller, but I do believe that in certain price ranges, basically $300,000 and below, in the older buildings, there's going to be some price decreases. Sellers who are looking at $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 in assessments are going to have to do something. There are options to force sales like you've been hearing about over the internet. Selling is one. So far, a good portion of those owners are paying for the assessments at closing. Yeah, it lowers the amount of money they get back from their condo, but they no longer have the assessment and they have a buyer. Some of the older buildings that are in real trouble would be going to be torn down and rebuilt with new, more expensive condos. Those condos, and I'm telling you, there are thousands of them, will never hit the market to affect prices. If anything, the replacement condos are going to drive prices up. But you will definitely see a decrease in some prices for older condos. The ones that are in trouble, write that down. Insurance and condo fees are a different animal. At some point in time, a lot of people are going to be looking at condo fees in the thousands of dollars. When that happens, those who just can't afford it, they're going to have to do something. I mean, what are they going to do? Their options are to pay the increased fee or sell the condo. They are going to have to do pretty much one or the other. Maybe they can sell and move to South Carolina. They never have hurricanes there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to the condo market in Florida, and pretty much for that matter, all the rest of the country too. But Florida, once again, will probably be ranked number one. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, go ahead and mark them down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. If you got anything out of the video, hit the like button and hit that subscribe button as well. It helps us get this out to the rest of the world. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.